Hi everyone. So I've got my gimbal here. Now, for most of us when we're using gimbals, we kind of use them for running around getting great handheld, nice stabilized shots. But actually, sometimes I use this as a remote head to control it. I put it up somewhere safe, and then I can control it. So this is useful if I'm doing something which is multi-camera, conference, lecture, something like that, or maybe just a talking head and I just need another camera as well. It can also be useful if I need to put this somewhere a little bit out of the way, maybe that's not very convenient for me to be, and I can mount it and then I can control it on that as well. I'm going to show you about the controlling as well. So this is a Ronin RS3 Pro made by DJI, and their other gimbals as well will do the same thing, so that's really handy. So what I've got is my tripod here. I've got my gimbal, it's on the stand. Now, if I'm putting this up somewhere else, I don't necessarily want it on this stand. It's probably not that stable. You're leaving it alone. Someone could knock it. But even if I'm putting it on a tripod, try to have it somewhere out of the way that's going to keep it safe. The other thing you could do, of course, is you could have something like this, a super clamp that you can then mount onto something, and you've got the spigot here and you could screw that on, because at the bottom of the gimbal here, at the bottom of the battery, is actually a thread to put that on that'll fit here on the tripod as well. So if you're going to do this kind of thing, I do want to recommend to you, if you're putting this out of the way remote, get a safety cable. Now, this one here, I just got these relatively cheap on Amazon. I'll put a link below for them. But I've tested them. They're actually quite hardy as well. So this has got a carabiner, and it's got my loop here, and I could thread it through and then round onto a pole or something. You don't want to be that person where the camera falls. You don't want your camera falling. You know, they're precious. We want them to work, so we want to keep them safe. But also, if maybe you've got them high up somewhere, and if it falls, it could injure somebody. So these are good. Get these. These were dirt cheap, so get hold of those. I recommend them anytime you're putting remote cameras up somewhere. Now, the Raven Eye, which is underneath here, you may or may not have one of these. It might have come with your remote, with your gimbal. So this gives you the remote control capabilities, and it connects through Wi-Fi. Now, the other thing that I did here is I need power to run it for a long time if I'm putting it on something like, filming something like a conference or a lecture or something like that. And I've got this V-Lock battery here. It's got a dummy battery going into the Canon here. This is the R5C, but I've done this with the R5, R6 Mark II, and so on. In fact, anything that takes the LP-E6NH battery. So at the time of recording, I couldn't find one of these for the R5 Mark II. I'm waiting, hopefully, for that to come out soon. So people like Small Rig, Tilter, Condor Blue, they do this kind of thing. So I'm just waiting for it. Canon have got a DC coupler that does the same thing, and it connects to a power supply. So that could be useful as well. But I wanted to connect in here, and there is USB-C. That coupler does have USB-C, but I don't know if it works yet. These are in short supply. But these are great. So this will give me a lot more power. I do have the mains option as well. I do have a mains version of this. So it can run all day, and I'm not then worrying about the battery. Okay, so I need to tell you about the battery. It is heavier than the dummy version that's in here. So when you're balancing your gimbal, do it with the dummy battery in here. So get everything set up, balance it, because when you switch the batteries, the balance is going to change on it. So just do that. Make sure the cable here is not going anywhere in the way. I do actually have another video showing you all about these V-Lock batteries and connecting it up with this configuration, because I've got this arm here as well that's screwed to the handle. I've got a V-mount plate here as well. You can get bigger batteries. I couldn't find this one again. I got this quite a few years ago, but there is one that has got a NATO clamp on here that does the same sort of thing. I'll put a link again for that, so you've got that. I've got the phone holder here. I don't actually really need it on for this. And because I wanted the bigger lens, I've got that on here as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it on this tripod. just very quickly, this tripod, I've only had it a couple of weeks. It's great because it's made by Sarui. It was a lot less than Satchler do something like this, which is called the Flowtech, where it's got these, you can change the height and everything. But what's great is you don't have to bend over. These little ones here, these latches, they kind of save you having to bend over. So it's just one kind of click and it's done on each leg. So that means, let me just bring that down a little bit lower. So it means I don't have to bend down all the way. It's a tiny bit heavier than the Satchler, but it's got great damping on it and all sorts of things. So yeah, I think this is really neat. It's got something else that's quite interesting. Although I can slide this on and off, it actually also goes in like that. So I think that's quite neat too. Something that I've kind of got a bit used to. So I'm going to put this onto here. I'm going to be a bit careful here. I'm going to take the camera off. I don't want to have everything all over the place. Let's just get that off. And at the same time, let me get this battery out. This battery comes in and out really quickly. So let me just do that. These batteries are amazing. And when I'm using it on the gimbal, I can run a lot longer. If you're someone who's using the R5C, you know that the battery is an issue. So, but it's a great camera. So this is a way around it. Bit more working out as well. Keeps me fitter. So let me just get this. Let me take that off. I'm going to screw that on here. So that I've got that here. Should have really done this with, just get my little tool here. This is very handy, this one. This is made by Small Rig. It's got some Allen keys, hex keys, Phillips screwdriver, flathead. Very handy, especially if you're traveling. You don't then have to worry about, it's got no blade on it, you see, but it's got all the tools that you need. And if you're doing things like going into some places that are a bit more secure, House of Parliament, courts, things like that, well, there you go. Then you've got this here and they won't confiscate it off you. Yes, it's happened. So let's just pop that in here. Make sure that's securely on. I can easily drop this down here without having to bend all the way, as I said. So let's bring that right the way down so you can see what I'm doing. And there we go. So don't forget, it gives you a bit more height as well. So you might just want to be a bit wary of that. I'm going to pop this on here. So I'm going to pop that cable through there. I'm then going to put this on here. Now I've balanced this all up. I know it's okay. I might want to double check it again. Let's put this in here. I can take this battery off really quickly. I've got a few of these batteries. This one's made by FX Lion. I quite like it. There's different sizes. You can get bigger, but again, you're then adding more weight, but maybe that's not going to bother you too much. So, and the great thing is it shows you the amount of time you've got, and always just check that that's on. So there we go. This is the camera all set, ready to go. Let me just plug everything back in here, my HDMI, and also my control cable, my USB-C control cable, and I am ready to go. So what I need to do, I would run through all my normal things. As I said, I've got this all balanced up. I would switch on my gimbal, so the Raven Eye is on. And I'm just going to do a quick start calibration here. I should also do the calibration of the gimbal as well, so you can see it's doing that. I always do this, but it's always check the balance on it. But as I said, I'd done that before I started the recording, something I'd made earlier. And then I can control it with my phone. Now, I do also have the DJI transmission that can go underneath here instead of the Raven Eye. And I've got the monitor here. And there is also the SDR transmission as well. The downsides to it, if you've used it, is the active track you can't use on here. You need to use this Raven Eye here. So the active track will actually also follow. You can highlight a subject and it will follow it, which is quite neat as well. The advantage of using this, because all I really wanted to do, I couldn't start the recorder from here or start the camera, but I started it on here, and I just wanted to keep an eye on whether or not the person was in shot, because it was actually zoomed in on one person. So with that, this has got a gyroscope in it. You can also get handles on it as well, and then you can just adjust it, and you've got a nice big screen here so you can see it. You could put it on another tripod and have it just on the side and do that as well. So the reason I like that is if I'm using it on my phone, it's tearing through the battery on the phone. Someone could call, something like that as well. The SDR transmission is a lot cheaper. You do need a monitor, maybe like a Ninja 5 or something, but still works out cheaper than having this. You can control it with the Ronin app, and you can remote control the gimbal as well. So if I just connect up the gimbal here, I can control this. So let me just connect my Wi-Fi to this, and it will come up in a moment. There we go. And then I can go to my app, and I'm going to show you the app. We're going to just go outside, and then I'm going to control it there. So here I am, I'm outside, and I've got it set up, and I've connected up to the Raven Eye. And if it doesn't automatically take you into the Raven Eye, I'm on the app here. I can go into video transmitter camera view just here, just tap on that. And what I can do is, you can see on the left-hand side here, it's got this icon here. It's a rectangle with some arrows in it. If I tap on that, this is where it's giving me my options. So I can go in here and I can do force mobile. Now this is the one that when I tilt the camera, can you see it's moving as I move around? Okay, so I could come out of that, but you can see I can change the speed, and also if I wanted to, the smoothness here. But let's just look at the speed, because that's going a bit too quick. So now I can move it like that. So you can adjust it according to what you want. I've made the roll 0 so that if I do that, the camera's not rolling, because I wouldn't want that to happen. But just so you can see, if I do switch that on, I've got the rolling going there, so I can do that. So let's just go back into the little icon, which has now changed. You did see that there. Over there, it's now changed to what looks like a phone with some arrows showing it rolling. So let's just go back to that. I'm going to switch my roll back to here. I'm now just going to switch off my force mobile. Now you can see it's a bit skew there. This one with 4 arrows pointing to a dot, that will recenter it. Let's go back into my settings here, because I've got the virtual joystick, so I can do that. And I can now, I'm in the virtual joystick. Again, I've got settings for the speed, the tilt, and the roll. Again, I've set the roll to 0. To enable the joystick, and you can see now in the bottom left-hand corner, there's like a little dot with 4 arrows pointing in each of the directions. And if I tap on that and hold it down, I can do that. You can see it's going quite quickly here, so I really need to think about adjusting that. So there you go, that's what you can do. I can then come out of the app if I want to. So the thing that I can do is I can now hit record. It's now recording on the camera, so that's working just fine. You might just need to check on the compatibility to make sure yours can do all of this. So also, depending on the camera, and you can check the compatibility, I can change my aperture, my shutter speed, my ISO as well. And as I said, I can also record here. And if I want to, I can also tap in the bottom right-hand corner, there's a play button, and I can see what it's recorded. It can take just a moment for it to appear. There you go. So I can just play it back to check it out. Okay, so that's what it can do. If I was using active track and that was a subject here, I can highlight it. As I said, the active track works here and following the subject if I'm using the Raven Eye, but not with the SDR transmission or the DJI transmission either. So there you go. I find this really useful. I do this every now and again. I'd like to do it a little bit more, because I think actually it's something that's really useful, and it brings extra value to jobs if you've got another camera and you've got that remote on there as well. Just remember, put this out of the way. You don't want people walking into it, moving it, and so on, to find a good space. You might even have it not that far from you. So it could be, if you've got two cameras, maybe almost side by side, if that's something that you want to do. You could have this behind them on the stage and so on. As I said, you've also got the opportunity to clamp things on. Just be careful, use the safety cables. Yeah, so have a go at it. I think this is something that's often overlooked, using the gimbals, because we just like to run around with them. Imagine if you were doing something like a wedding. You could have this tucked away as a little remote camera. Could give you that extra edge that maybe some of your competitors aren't doing. And then you now know how to get more power in there as well. Thanks for watching. If you do like this, please do like, share and subscribe, and come back for more.